and welcome to the Red Barrels podcast. It's episode 26. That's right, we're still on our weekly schedule. We've done it for 2 whole weeks now, and this is number 3, the 3rd week, and we're back on news. I hope you're enjoying the new order of Red Barrels. I think it's probably the most important thing that's happened over the past month, you know? As we recorded this, Prince Andrew just got arrested.
Oh, yeah.
It's less important than that.
On his birthday.
On his birthday. That's
his
always
birthday.
fun. That's fun, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
isn't that
fun.
lovely? Isn't that justice?
Yes. But that's the kind of news that doesn't matter. The first bit of news
the
is
artist
who
formerly
we are.
known as Prince Andrew. Let's get his
I will never
titles
stop
correct.
calling.
Let's get
They're
it
not
right.
getting out. They're not getting out of him being a prince. I refuse to allow him. He's going to be prince to the day he dies. But the bigger news is who we are. I'm Alex. You know that, probably. No, maybe you don't. But I am Alex. And who else is here with me?
I'm Sofie. That's who I am. Who else is here with me?
She did it.
I did
it's
it.
me. It's Ed. That's also who I am. I'm
Well
not
done, Ed.
Sophie. I'm Ed. Thanks for coming along for
I'm not Ed or
episode
Alex,
26.
I'm Sophie. So,
Just a
confused.
cavalcade of victory here on the Red Barrels podcast today.
we did it.
But as I said, it's a news episode. If you still haven't caught up, we've split the podcast in half, and we're doing 2 halves. We've taken the games half, and we've taken the news half, and we made them separate podcasts. And we're doing it weekly. And this is the news one. And actually, just
Separate
before I
podcast
start,
episodes, you should say.
the podcast episodes.
Still the same
of
podcast.
It's all podcast. It's all
Separate episodes.
we record it. Look, here's a peek behind
Just
the
don't
curtain.
go anywhere else.
we
Don't
record
look
it
at
at
a
the
single
same
other
time.
podcast. It's the only one. Okay.
That's
They
very
wouldn't,
true.
They
There's
wouldn't
only
listen to
one
other
podcast.
You think you
podcasts, would
would
they?
dare?
That would be disgusting.
Be repulsive.
I'm getting quite emotional at the idea that our listeners might cheat on us.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
They wouldn't. I know.
It's
I know.
distressing.
You wouldn't.
I don't
right?
want to. I don't want to even
You
consider
listening?
it.
You wouldn't. Right?
It's a horrible thought. But actually, before we do start, I do have just a quick kind of announcement or
What?
suggestion.
Huh?
No. My co-hosts are reacting to something I primed them on. That's not what this is. What I'm suggesting to it is this is just a little thing.
Okay.
If you are a listener on YouTube, as I know a decent number of our listeners are, I have to warn you, and maybe you're not even hearing this because of this, that YouTube has a tendency to just randomly make episodes private, which means you won't be able to listen to them. They won't be posted online.
Bastards.
Why this happens is unclear. It seems like it's something that just happens to podcasts in general that get posted onto YouTube.
Give them a break. YouTube are a small ramshackle organisation.
Yeah.
They can't be
Exactly.
expected to make this
It's
kind
just,
of thing work
I think
all
it's
the
just
time.
like 2 guys and
I think they'll be nominated for the
server.
Indie Platform Awards this year, you know?
Yeah.
So
Just a server in some guy's basement, basically. So
We
I should
understand.
take it easy.
cut them
on
some
them.
slack, man.
Exactly. But I will say that if you are expecting an episode of the podcast and it's not there, why not drop us a line on social media, Red Barrels Pod on Twitter or Red Barrels Podcast on Blue Sky, and just let us know. And if I see it, I will immediately go and make it public again, because it does just happen at random at any time. Anytime it can happen. Anytime.
When you least expect it.
When I least expect it. So
Scary.
point it out to us. I guess I'd say I'd recommend checking out one of our other services. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Amazon Podcasts. You can get the links to those from our social media. But if you want to stay with YouTube, we'll keep putting it there. But just let us know if something you expect it and it isn't there. We try and put it out every Monday, unless we're off sick or something. So yeah, just keep an eye out or an ear out and let us know if something seems off. That's all. But we now, that's it. That's it for announcements. We're going to get back into the news. And as my co-hosts pre-reacted to, I have breaking news. They don't know what the breaking news is. They know there's breaking news.
What?
What?
Breaking news?
Breaking news.
Sacre
Breaking
bleu.
news. This is information I
As
only
I
discovered.
live and breathe.
I only discovered this information literally 3 minutes before we started recording, or before
Wow.
we came together to start recording. So this is as fresh as it gets. And I think it's monumental. It's monumental. Now, there has been something of a spate of these cheap in cost generally, though not necessarily in quality. Some of them are pretty good. Small handheld emulation devices that you can put ROMs on and play them all around. It's like a little Game Boy you carry on that can play Super Nintendo games, Mega Drive games, even higher than that, N64 games, PlayStation games. There's a whole bunch of these. I've bought a number of them myself in unwise move, probably. But there's loads of them now. There's loads of them. Ambernick makes a bunch of them. Retroid makes some. Well, one of these has just been announced. It is, and I mean, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. This looks like kind of like a PSP. If you remember the PSP, it looks quite similar to that. However, it's got the usual layout of a screen in the middle, a D-pad on the top left, like 4 face buttons on the top right, shoulder buttons at the top, an analog stick on the left corner, bottom left corner. But what's this on the right-hand corner? It's some bizarre kind of circular switcher. Apparently, it's like a very over-the-top way to choose how hard you want a console to go and sacrifice battery life. How hard it's pushing the system. Seems weird to me. An odd choice. Now, this seems like quite mundane information, although this is quite a weird-looking handheld, I will say. I'm burying the lead. The name of this device is the Game MT PSK 5000. What does PSK stand for? It's not a mystery. They're very clear about it.
PlayStation Kinect or something.
I mean, that would be pretty clear copyright violation. So, no, they wouldn't do that, but that's not a bad guess.
Okay.
But I don't think you're going to guess what the name of this device is. The name of this device, in full, is the Game MT Pocket Super Knob 5000.
Super knob.
Super Knob with a K.
Cute.
Because it has a knob on it.
Wow. That's pretty goofy.
I
That's some
think
pretty
it's
goofy
important
shit.
that you are listening public are informed of this important fact. The Pocket Super Knob 5000 will be out soon, I guess.
For our non-UK listeners, knob is an inappropriate nickname for a certain appendage.
Yes.
So it's very funny and silly.
I've just posted in our Discord chat a link to this thing.
It does look a lot like the
thank you.
PSP.
And it's got a weird knob on in the corner.
It does have a weird knob. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What? Like the gauge thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It
can
has a-
twist that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Apparently,
Okay.
it's mainly made for PlayStation PSP because it looks a bit like a PSP.
It does look like a PSP. My brother had a PSP.
Emulation, and it's got a knob on it.
Wow.
So anyway,
All right. Super knob. Let's freaking
I'm a
go.
bit disappointed by that
no,
story.
hey, it's also
Yeah,
in
me
your pocket.
too.
It's also in your
I
pocket.
was really
Don't forget
hoping,
that.
I was hoping that was going to be a slam dunk, and then in the end, sure, you got the bucket, but like, it wasn't exactly Michael Jordan's highlights, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
know
what
what I
you
mean?
want, Ed. I don't know what you want. They are releasing a console called the
listeners-
Pocket Super Knob
Listeners,
5000.
when he
I don't know
introduced
how
this
much
story
clearer
before
I
the
can be on that.
recording started,
You
he
promised
was like,
us.
"This is the biggest, most exciting news. You're not gonna believe what news I have."
You're not going to Adam and Eve it, he said.
I don't know what more you want. It's called the Pocket Super Knob 5000.
Yeah.
What more is there to say?
I thought the direction that you were going in, I thought it was going to be like a PSP 2.0.
Yeah,
And then
so
was
did
gonna be
I.
like,
So did
oh,
I.
new PSP.
Yeah.
I mean, some would say it's better than a new PSP. I think
Well,
new PSP
I don't think many
comes
would,
out, it's not going to
actually.
have a knob on
I
it.
think they would be
and it's not gonna have
mistaken.
the word
Is
knob
the
in the
problem?
name. All right. Look, I think our listeners will appreciate the import of this unbelievable fact.
Comment below, listener.
Yeah, why not? Drop a
Engage
comment
with the post.
on YouTube if the YouTube isn't private, or send us social media or some of the other. I think Spotify also has
Comment.
comments.
You could comment on Spotify.
Send us a letter.
SoundCloud
Send
has
us a letter.
comments. Yeah,
Our PO box is as follows:
Just
Alex, what's your address
don't
again?
look up our don't investigate what our home addresses are, but send us a letter nonetheless.
Good luck to you, listener. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Well, let's go on with the mundane, boring news that we have to offer. The news that you can get, the slop news, the news slop.
Don't hype it up too much.
Well, first up is Ed.
Yes. Well, thank you for bearing with us through that one, listeners. You know, sometimes Alex sees an odd-based story and he just can't help but share it. And, you know, it warms my heart to see him happy. So I'm happy he shared it. I'm going to be covering some more AI-related stories. So you know what you're in
No.
for.
I know. I'm sorry.
Something really exciting.
I don't
I'm
want
going to
any
start with.
more.
Well, I know they just keep on coming. They just keep on coming. We wish we
Stop.
didn't have to cover them, but it's kind of is one of
Yeah.
the main stories of our time in terms of video games. So unfortunately, I've done the dirty work of reading some articles and then summarizing them for you.
Thanks for doing that. Thanks for your stellar
God's
journalism.
work, Ed.
That's
God's
all right.
work. God's
Thank you
work.
for your service. Yes, I know. Okay. We're going to start with the world model generators. Well, I think we have talked about these a little bit before on the show, but we're talking about them again now because at the end of January, Google released their research prototype of their Project Genie, which is an AI world model generator. So what you do is you put in a prompt and it generates an environment for you to walk through. Well, kind of. What it really sort of does is it creates a video that you can then navigate through the video. Like it's not actually creating a 3D world in the way that it's kind of implying that it is. It's creating a video that you then walk
So
through.
it's creating a real estate video.
Yes, more or less. Yes, exactly.
Great.
Walking through it currently is the only kind of interaction that you seem to be able to do with it. I mean, I think you can also sort of fly through it, like drift through it, but you can just sort of walk through these spaces. You can be in them for 60 seconds. That limitation is required because after that, the model forgets what it's generated for you so far.
Incredible.
It renders at 24 frames per second at 720p. You can also only access this if you are an AI Ultra subscriber, which means you're paying them $250 per month.
$250 a month. Wow.
$250 per month to access this incredible feat of engineering.
Man.
To be fair, Xbox Game Pass probably won't be too far off that.
That's true. And yeah, you might think surely this is going to have very little impact on gaming at the moment with those limitations. Well, you might think that, but investors didn't, because we've seen some of these sorts of technologies before. Like I said, last year, for example, I think there was Microsoft's Muse, and we've also seen people create sections of Quake and Minecraft, and even there was some Roblox stuff that came out like last week. But this release, for some reason, caused investors to freak out a little bit, and a bunch of video game related stock plummeted in cost. Most notably, Unity, their stock price dropped 28% following this being revealed. And the Unity CEO, Matt Bromberg, responded on X, saying that the AI model would be a powerful accelerator to their business, not a threat. So even though this technology does seem quite a long way away from being useful in a video game setting, I mean, it only lasts for 60 seconds, let's not forget, and it's not even rendering real 3D spaces, that has caused investors to have such a big reaction that CEOs are feeling forced to comment on it. And again, it's just the age-old story of, the entire industry is dependent on these investors who apparently don't seem to understand how the technology works. And I mean, either that or the investors think that everyone else doesn't understand how it works, and so they'll drop their stock before everyone else does.
I think they could just lie to us into which is what they've been trying to do, right? Is just lie to us about how much potential it has to replace everything.
Exactly. And
it's just lies.
Unity are going to recover from this. There's not going to be too much long-term damage of this particular stock drop, like stock value drop. But it's just, again, is a reminder that the viability of the games industry is sort of reliant on this kind of uninformed speculation, and it's just a concerning sequence of events. The other big AI story that's happened, again, following on from things that we've discussed before, and I'm sure you've all felt it yourself, fellow gamers, is the ongoing RAM shortage. I'm sure you know There's a global shortage of RAM, and that's because it's being bought en masse to power AI servers and data centers, or whatever the correct terminology is. If you're a PC gamer that's tried to buy RAM recently, you will have, of course, noticed this yourself. But also, console gamers have been hit by it already. We saw there was an increase in the price of the PlayStation 5 last year. In the UK, it went up £40, and this was part of the reason given for that. But in the last few weeks, we're beginning to get a bit of a clearer picture of how we can expect this to impact things going forward as well. So since I mentioned PlayStation, let's start with Sony. They had their February earnings call a few weeks ago, and their CFO, Tao Lin, noted that that there was a decrease in PlayStation 5 sales, but there was an increase in subscribers to PlayStation Plus. And on this, he said, quote, "Given the stage of our console cycle, our hardware sales strategy can be adjusted flexibly, and we intend to minimize the impact of the increased memory costs on this segment going forward by prioritizing monetization of the installed base to date." So what this implies is that we can expect further price increases, and most likely on the price of PlayStation Plus or perhaps other peripheries. It also implies that they may be delaying any potential PlayStation 6 launch plans until they can make the PlayStation 6 a slightly more favorable margin, especially while the PlayStation 5 is still making them such good money from subs. Bloomberg has recently reported that the launch may be pushed back to 2028 or even 2029. So that's quite a big impact on what console gamers can expect going forward. And it's not just Sony as well. Valve have also spoken about this recently. You may remember they announced their Steam Machine and Steam Frame late last year, and they said that they're due to be released in the first half of 2026. Now, apparently they're still on track for that, but on the 4th of February, they posted in a Steam community note, quote, "When we announced these products in November, we planned on being able to share specific pricing and launch dates by now. But the memory and storage shortages you've likely heard about across the industry have rapidly increased since then. The limited availability and growing prices of these critical components mean we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, especially around the Steam Machine and Steam Frame." So again, what this implies is possibly there'll be a delay on the shipping of the Steam Machine and Steam Frame, but almost certainly there's going to be an increase in prices. Now, obviously, they haven't currently announced a price, so it's not going to be clear to what extent the price has been increased. But I think this kind of seems to put to bed the hopes that some of us might have had that they might have ended up being on the more affordable side of things, especially since they imply they don't want to sell it at a loss. So I think that's kind of concerning for anyone that was sort of hoping that these would be sort of a big, exciting part of the ecosystem going forward. And we've also seen this impact on the existing Steam Decks as well. With Valve, as of, I believe, just the 16th of Feb, which was just 3 days ago, they've added a note to their store page saying, quote, "Steam Deck OLED may be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages." I mean, lots of people had already noted that the Steam Deck OLED was out of stock quite regularly, but the fact that Valve has come out and said that this is specifically the reason why shows that we can probably expect this to be a thing for quite a while going forward. And I'm just going to touch on one more example. Nintendo, perhaps you've heard of them. They had their great release of the Switch 2 last year, which has been incredibly successful for them. And I believe it's the fastest selling Nintendo console. So, there's a lot of their hardware out there right now. A month ago, the president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, my apologies for butchering that, said, quote, "We procure from suppliers based on our medium to long-term business plans, but the current memory market is very volatile. There is no immediate impact on earnings, but is something that we must monitor closely." And then he refused to comment on hypotheticals when asked about if there was a potential price increase for the Switch 2. The same Bloomberg article that I referenced earlier also spoke about Nintendo potentially needing to increase their prices. That's apparently a rumor that's out there in the industry right now, that Nintendo are gearing up to increasing the Switch 2 price. On the other hand, this is just me thinking out loud now, the Switch 2 is much earlier in its cycle than the PlayStation 5. As I said, the Switch 2 sold very well, but they're still at a point where increasing the size of their install base is kind of a top priority for them. That's the same logic that led to them not increasing their prices last year, even in the face of the Trump tariffs. So I think probably Nintendo are the least likely of these guys to increase their prices, or if they do increase them, to increase them the least. But what we're seeing across the board is AI is threatening video game companies by decreasing the investor interest and decreasing their stock prices. And it's threatening gamers by making PCs and consoles more expensive and delaying future console releases. And it's a story that just continues to develop. And obviously, we're going to keep on top of it here. But it's not a very inspiring situation to be in. So, maybe ultimately what we can say is thank you for starting with the knob joke, Alex, because I think we kind of need that to balance out how depressing the AI situation is right now. But yeah, keep tuned in. Here's the Red Barrels. We'll keep you updated. But yeah, that's the February 2026 update on the AI-pocalypse or Ramageddon or whichever thing you want to call it.
I should say that I don't think that pricing or release information has come out for the Pocket Super Knob 5000 yet. But, when we hear
there is
about
a
that,
risk.
obviously that could be very much affected by the AI apocalypse. So we'll definitely update you listeners when we hear about it. But there is actually another real thing, which is there have also been a lot of rumors that the PlayStation 6, which was kind of vaguely expected to come out next year, probably it will have been 7 years since originally the PS5 came out, and also whatever the new Xbox console thing, even if that even really is a thing, who knows? Both were kind of expected to come out next year, and a lot of people are saying it looks like it'll probably be 2028. So that's like a whole year you're going to have to wait for that, and that's going to mess up a lot of things as well. There'll be games that'll be coming out that are expected to come out for the PS6. There will already be PS6 games under development right now. So it's going to mess up a lot of stuff. And yeah, it's just a kind of shit situation. And suffice to say, if the situation resolves, if more RAM, if the AI bubble finally bursts, or if more RAM floods the market, I know I've seen a lot of people desperately hoping that China just starts ramping up making RAM. And apparently they make some decent RAM, so maybe they'll do that. But if all that happens, I'm going to go ahead and guess that these consoles will not reduce in in cost, having proven that people would buy them at the more expensive version.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, it looks like the PlayStation 6 rumored to be 2028 or even 2029 at this stage. I decided not to touch on Xbox in my
well,
my summary
it's
for
important for the industry.
tragically obvious reasons, unfortunately.
It's as much as we obviously support BDS, it's like it's a thing that affects developers and stuff. So yeah, okay. Well, with the AI apocalypse behind us at last.
Wow, thank God. At last, yeah, as you say.
We did it,
It's over.
everyone.
We're done.
It's Jova.
We're on to Sophie's news morsel.
Yeah, it is a morsel. Basically, two sort of like live service games shortly after their releases, dramatically reducing their development teams. So specifically, Riot has substantially downsized the team working on its live service game 2XKO, which is a free-to-play 2v2 fighting game that released on January 26, 2026. So just last month. Roughly 80 staff will be transferred to other teams at Riot or laid off with 6 months severance pay. Executive producer Tom Cannon cited lackluster momentum, basically saying they didn't see the number of players that they wanted to see. They have reassured players that the game's competitive circuit would continue as planned. Patrick Miller, who was working on 2XKO for over a decade, because this game was in development for over a decade, was laid off with 30 minutes notice, as well as lead champion designer Alex Jaffe with 8 years on the title, and senior character artist David Bolton, along with many others, all given like 30 minutes notice, basically, before they got laid off, which fucking sucks for a game that was in development for over a decade again. Can't stress that enough. Riot hasn't had a lot of success with new releases, with massive layoffs of the Legends of Runeterra team in 2024. So there's some speculation that this is going to make them quite hesitant to invest in new IP going forward, especially live service titles. Similarly, the development team of Wildlight's High Guard, which is a live service hero shooter, has also been laid off, shrinking to a, quote, core group of developers, unquote, to keep the game going. Wildlight was not transparent about how many members of staff were laid off, but level designer Alex Grainer, tech artist Josh Sobel, and social and community lead Alex Frostwolf all on Twitter expressed disappointment about not being involved in the project anymore, having been part of the layoffs. They were all, specifically Josh Sobel was very praising of the project. Not sure if he's just trying to, secure himself a role continuing in the game industry, or but he basically said that he had a really good experience, and if they ever got the numbers back up for the game, he would love to return to it. But all of them sort of spoke quite highly of the production process, even if they were disappointed that it was ending. High God, while popular on release, had a rocky release with complaints about map sizes in the 3v3 game format, which made the studio introduce like a temporary 5v5 game format for like a limited time, which is just it's just very funny that they couldn't have figured that out before it launched. Like they couldn't have done like market research or playtests to sort of
Well, this is
get
the
that
game.
idea.
This is the game that got surprise announced at the end of the Game Awards, and
Yeah.
no one saw anything about. So there were no playtests because no one played it until
I
they
mean, this
came
is
out.
why these games aren't like meeting with success immediately, guys,
Yeah.
because like nobody particularly wants them. Which, like, even obviously 2XKO has like a very dedicated fan base, but it is small because it's an extremely niche title. Like an online, 2v2 fighting game is like very, very niche, and like they knew that developing that. But I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're developing it for 10 years. It's still it just didn't attract much attention, I suppose. So yeah, kind of putting live service games generally in a bit of a spot, it feels like. That's all I have on that, basically. It's just sort of more layoffs in the industry. Which again, I don't know, it's like, how do you spend 10 years on a
Yeah.
project and then gut it?
Crazy.
And then gut it like roughly not even a month after it's released, right? January 26th is when it came out. And they're already gutting it now after 10 years in development. That's just really quite sad. It's sad for the people who worked on it as well, spent all that time working on that title. But yeah.
I guess with the Riot Games one, they've let go of 80 staff on it, and that's meant to be half the development team. So I guess that means they've still got 80 more staff still working on it. So
Yeah.
potentially that game they have like
It's still
serious plans for
going.
it to be alive for
Yeah.
a while. Whereas with
Yeah.
High Guard, the way that the former staff were like posting about, like lamenting about things that they wish they would have got a chance to like release into the game and stuff like that, sort of implies that maybe the core group that they've got left isn't enough for those features to be released into the game. So it feels
Yeah.
to me like maybe there's a slight difference in that maybe 2XKO will sort of linger on for a while and get some updates. But maybe High Guard's just sort of dead in the
Sounds a bit
water.
dead in the
Yeah.
water. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people calling it Concord 2, but
Yeah,
or Concord 3 if you include the original Concord, which also got cancelled. So,
yeah.
it's a sad time.
Yeah,
And this as well, with the week before, we also had the Ashes of Creation situation, which I'm not fully briefed on. Like I've not prepared something about it for this episode, but the Intrepid Studios, the developer behind Ashes of Creation, the founder of that studio has resigned. Stephen Sheriff, I believe his name is. I know there's a lot of people there at risk of losing their jobs as well. And it's got quite a decent player base, I believe, like 15,000 to 20,000 people play a month. But there's lots of people on LinkedIn talking about that they've lost their job as a result of it. And it's all a bit of a confusing situation. No one's quite sure why it's happened. And Sheriff has claimed that he's resigned in protest at decisions made by the board, which he didn't ethically agree with. But at previous points in the Ashes of Creation journey, he's talked about how, because it was a Kickstarter originally, he was talking about how one of the selling points was there wasn't like a board of investors that needed to be appeased. Like the buck stopped with him, which gave him like creative freedom on the project. So one of those two things is they can't both be true. There can't both be no board and creative freedom and also a board that's made him like shut it down. So yeah, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on in general with the industry, and it feels like there is this like movement away from live service stuff at the moment. It feels like we're seeing, and maybe we're all a bit sick of live service games, but this is not a
That's the
particularly
thing. Yeah, I
elegant
was
way
gonna
of handling
say.
this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, personally, I've never been. I mean, I guess I played a lot of Overwatch back in the day, but that's kind of it. And I think even Overwatch is now, like, I read a thing saying they're basically going back to 6v6 when Overwatch 2 was 5v5.
Yeah. They're
And
also
obviously just trying
renaming it
to
back to just being called Overwatch.
back to
instead
I
of
was gonna say
Overwatch
that.
2, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add that. Yeah, it's just yeah. It's, I don't know. I feel like the time for live service games is probably approaching its end. It sucks, obviously, the people are caught in this as well. But I do think it's live service games are just sort of reaching a
Yeah, it feels
national.
like a weird situation where just like, yeah, like, the fad is maybe thinning out a bit at least.
Mm.
We're going to talk about the Sony State of Play in a sec, and one of the games in that is called For Loop, and basically and it's basically a live service game, similar thing for, 4-player PvE type thing, like a lot of them. And all the commentary I saw about it was like, wow, it's Conquered 4 or whatever. Like, this
Mm.
just looks like it's going to be dead on arrival because, I mean, it certainly doesn't look like it didn't grab anyone. I mean, maybe it's a good game. Maybe it's well made and well crafted. It could well be. But it doesn't have anything that's going to be, people are like, oh my God, you see that? On the other hand, there is Marathon, which is a game we've talked about in the past, which was very troubled and had all sorts of problems, and people were really down on it. And from my understanding, the buzz is actually quite positive on it now. They've managed to turn it around. Hasn't officially launched yet, so it could still go bad. It's like launching in a few weeks, I think, finally. But a lot of people are like, "Oh wow, quite up on it." There's betas and stuff going on, so people are playing it. And yeah, there's been a lot of positive buzz about it. So I mean, who knows if they actually get the player numbers? Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't in the end. But at the very least, people are more positive about that now. So that could be a potential success. But yeah, I think if we were talking about the investors before. If you're an investor and you're like, oh man, thinking that a few years ago seemed like they were just green lighting these service games because they thought it was just like a license to print money. I imagine if you're wanting to start a service game now, you're gonna have a lot more trouble finding funding for that. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm also not a big service game guy. I did play a bit of Destiny back in the day, but in general, no. So I mean, as an artistic movement, I'm not particularly upset if it's drops in prominence. But the real issue is that yeah, a lot of people's careers are now tied into
I have a personal vendetta against Destiny. So, well, as Twitch streamer as
earned.
well,
It's
but
earned. It's earned. I'm not the biggest
because
Destiny.
I no, because the reason is because I bought it when it cost like 1,000 rand, which
Oh
is
yes,
a
you
lot
told
of
us about this.
money. I bought it when it was like brand new Destiny 2. And then like a couple years or so later, my brother was like, let's play Destiny. You have it, right? And I was like, yeah, go on then. And I didn't have access to any of the content anymore because it
Mm,
was all stripped in favor of like making it all DLC. So there was just no game content, even though I bought the base game and then they made it free to play later. And I was really fucking pissed that I got nothing for free for having bought the game, and then they stripped it of actually like all the content so they could sell you DLC. So
yeah.
I will never forgive. I will never forget, and I'm never going to pay anything from that franchise ever again. Thanks.
I don't think you're missing out too much at this point. I think most people are pretty down on Destiny. Well, speaking of Sony owned game Destiny, Sony's more widely had a state of play showcase thing. And generally, people are pretty up on it. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. A lot of kind of cool stuff shown off at it. And we're going to we're not going to go through everything, don't worry, but we're going to talk about some of it. The first thing they opened with was a sequel to Kenna Bridge of Spirits, I think it was.
Yep.
This one's called Kenna Scars of Cosmora, and it did look very nice. The original game had it was the studio that made it were basically an animation studio who tried their luck at making a game, and it had fantastic animation. And I hear everything else about it was like okay. This kind of looked like everything else was also a bit better. So, but to be fair, I've not played it. That's just what I hear. Just what I hear.
What's the word on the street?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've got street smarts.
Yeah, you got
Uh,
your ear
That's
glued
the
to that pavement.
scuttlebutt.
exactly. I'm famous for it.
Oh,
Ghost of Yote getting his DLC, this multiplayer thing that they also did for Ghost of Tsushima. I know some people really like that. As you'll hear in next week's games episode, Sofie has been playing Death Stranding. Spoilers. Well, Death Stranding 2 is coming to PC. Look forward to that. For Loop, that game we just talked about, doesn't look very good, but does have a giant spinning Rubik's Cube in the sky that
ooh,
they had to refer to as a 3D puzzle because I guess they didn't get the rights to Rubik's Cubes.
that's very funny.
What else have we got? A Legacy of Kain. Those old heads who enjoyed the Soul Reaver games. The third in the series is getting a remaster after the previous two games got a remaster. I know some people love those games, but I've never played them. Now, I know all of you are huge fans of the PlayStation 1 game series Brigandine.
Of course.
Yeah, I think
Woo.
I've only heard of one person who'd ever heard of it.
Pog.
And
You've only heard of one person who's ever heard of it. Oh my
yes,
god.
yeah.
Wow. Well, now you've
Um,
heard of at least 3.
well,
Because
apparently,
there's me and Tofi as well.
apparently there was a sequel made from this PlayStation 1 game made for the Nintendo Switch in the year 2000. Well, there's a new sequel coming
I
out.
doubt there was in the
Yeah.
year 2000 for the Nintendo Switch. That would have been real forward thinking.
Yes, exactly. I didn't miss say it, and it was actually 2020. No, I meant the year 2000, and they made a Nintendo Switch game 20 years ahead of time. Well
That's pretty
done.
impressive.
Yeah,
That's that long-term thinking that's got
Exactly.
Nintendo where they are today.
I
exactly.
think
Well,
that's
it's
the
not made-
first time
it's not made by
investors got something
Nintendo.
right.
It's not made by Nintendo.
Speaking of dumb investors.
Yeah, exactly. You know it's not made by Nintendo because it's in the PlayStation State of Play. Dead or Alive's back. They brought back Dead or Alive. They're re-releasing the 6th one, which was the last one, which came out at some point, like a new updated version.
Did it?
Yeah, you're getting all the details.
Came out
here.
at some
And-
point.
And more importantly, they're making a new
That was a
one.
good year.
And in classic Dead or Alive style, the number one thing everyone knows about Dead or Alive, when they announced the new game, it was with a slow pan up of this woman, the main woman from Dead or Alive, There's a bunch of them. and it just panned straight up to her boobs and stayed on that,
Yeah.
and then said Dead or Alive new game coming out. And I mean, that's
Death
pretty
to work
bad,
games, man.
but
Death
that's
to work
also
games. Bring back the titties.
yeah,
Bring
they're
'em
back,
back.
baby, they're back. Yeah, Dead or Alive is the game series that famously had boob
know.
physics.
I
I'm just
know.
telling. I'm telling our listeners this. I'm sure they
yeah.
are. They,
Why are
they
you telling
aren't-
me, Alex? I already know
Of
this.
course.
I know this.
course.
I know that game's full of
God.
titties, and I'm
this
so
is also-
glad they're sticking to their brand. You know,
This is also the game series made by Hironobu Itagaki, who died recently that we talked about in a few episodes ago. They didn't mention him. Hopefully they'll have some sort of tribute for him. Remedy. They showed off the new Control Resonant. Looked pretty good, I guess. Looked very kind of like reminiscent of Gravity Rush, a game that was on the PS Vita. But looks good. I'm looking forward to it. I love Remedy. I will play that game. Beast of Reincarnation. This is a game that's by Game Freak, who make the Pokemon games. They aren't actually owned by Nintendo, so they sometimes make games for other platforms, and this is one of them. And it's like an actual reasonably high budget action game, which is surprising because Game Freak's Pokemon games technically very bad. Traditionally, even by Nintendo Switch standards, they are pretty poor. So them making a game that looks like it was actually came out in the past 10 years is quite a surprise. I will say there is a hidden theme that I don't think anyone else picked up on this showcase, which is both this game and also
We've heard this one before.
the Kenner game. No, it's not like that. Both this one and the Kenner game, for some reason, include a rideable fox-like creature with a tail that is like made of plant. Like both of them have this. It's such a weird coincidence that there's two of these games in the same showcase. I don't know why. It's like that year, that E3 they had where every game had a bow and arrow in it.
Mhm.
But this is even more esoteric than that. I don't know what's going on. What are the trends? I'm sure we can work on a Marxist theory for why this is happening, but maybe we'll get back
I mean,
to
the Japanese
at the
do
next
love a
episode.
fox spirit. They love the.
They love fox spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
Alex, I'm going to say
Kenner,
it's so clear that
is-
you've not read the Grundrisse right now because this
It's-
is really clearly explained in that.
Yeah.
It's
People
really clear
say
that you haven't
Marx
watched
didn't
Naruto. Actually,
Marx didn't account for rideable foxes with plants in their tail. And you're like, no, actually, he
does he have
represents
multiple
it.
tails?
No, just one tail. It's not like the
Okay.
nine-tail fox. Just
Well, I
one
feel
tail.
like it's probably inspired by Nine Tail Fox at
Could
least.
be. It could be. It could be. I will say
You
that
know?
Kenner is not a Japanese game, though probably inspired.
Yes,
but-
it's fine.
All right.
It's fine. Good
Rayman-
enough.
Let's move on. Rayman is getting
Oh.
an anniversary edition of the first version of Rayman, which was also
nice.
which was
I
originally
might play
fun
that.
fact. That was the very first version of Rayman that came out was for the Atari Jaguar, which is presumably going to be in
Yes.
this. But most people played on the PlayStation.
That game had a
Um,
really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Um,
did, didn't it? The art style in that game is great as well. I did a full playthrough of it. I think just before we started this pod, so I've never talked about it on here. But
Yeah.
I will
played it
say
a lot as a kid.
that this version includes like apparently a prototype version that has never been seen before of Rayman. That I think was for the Super Nintendo.
As long as
And-
his head and feet and arms are not connected to his body, I'm okay with it, you know?
yeah,
As long as they're distinctly separate entities, I think that's fine.
you're a traditionalist in Rayman. You're
I'm
not
a
a radical
traditionalist. I need him to have
Rayman
An orthodox.
floaty arms and limbs. I think that's kind of the whole point, right? I feel like that's why
I
he
mean,
had the
it would be
abilities that he had,
disgusting
because
otherwise.
he was so floaty.
what
Yeah.
sort of perverse monster would want him to have arms?
Yeah.
It's
I will-
gross.
Disgusting.
I will say that this edition, I don't know what you call this thing, includes a documentary about the making of Rayman, which apparently includes Michel Ancel, who is the somewhat cancelled creator of Rayman. He left Ubisoft under a cloud under some, vague accusations being made at him. So I guess he's still alive. Mina the Hollower. Mina the Hollower, the game from Yacht Club, the proper
sorry.
follow-up.
That's not how I expected that sentence to
We
end.
gotta-
I'm sorry.
We got to keep moving on. We got to keep
Go
moving
ahead. Go
on. Mina the
ahead.
Hollower, new game from Yacht Club, which is the people who made Shovel Knight. Then they made a bunch of Shovel Knight spin-offs, and finally they're making this. That got shown off again. That game was supposed to come out on Halloween last year and got delayed at the last minute. And this showcase still did not include a release date, though it will be apparently soon. I'm a bit worried about that. There was a news story coming out that basically if this game doesn't do well, that the whole studio will collapse. Although not doing well meant selling like 100,000 copies, which I mean, this game is very easily going to sell 100,000 copies. It's the next game from the Shovel Knight people. I think they're going to get over that. So I don't think we should be too worried about that. But I'm a bit worried that it hasn't got a release date. What else have we got? Oh, this is the biggest thing. The most important thing that happened at this showcase. It started a new trailer, and it said, based on the best-selling novel series, The Bird That Drinks Tears.
I knew you were going to talk about this.
The Bird That Drinks Tears. Sofie, are you a fan of The Bird That Drinks Tears?
I don't know what that is.
I don't think anyone knows what it is. Later, investigation showed that it's big in Korea. But I didn't say
Major investigation.
It didn't say that.
You got the
thing.
boys in the department to investigate.
Yeah.
Get on the case.
I've got my boys. They were hard at work. Yeah, basically it said that, and I think like literally everyone was like, "The what?" And it's this like kind of it shows off it's some sort of fantasy game. I say later on it becomes clear it's basically like Dynasty Warriors. You're
burying the lead too much, Alex. Pull off the Band-Aid right now. Let's go.
You play as a giant chicken. A giant, beefy, like masculine cockerel.
Hell
a tall guy, but a cockerel. And I mean, it just seems to be designed for big cock jokes, but they really didn't lean into that.
I honestly didn't even think of that bit until now.
I mean,
I'll be honest, that's a real failing on my part. I just thought it was cool you got to play as a big chicken.
Despite being the bad boy of the Red Ballad podcast, you do have a somewhat innocent mind sometimes, Ed. And that's something I find very charming about you. But it is definitely a male cockerel.
Sofie, what do you find charming about me?
Clear, yeah.
Oh.
Star Wars
You're
Galactic.
so cute.
Thanks, guys.
The bad boy. I think we're undermining his colossal
I have undermined
female
nobody,
underbelly.
Alex.
No, we're undermining
Not me.
the huge female fan base for Ed by saying that he's cute. I think they love to think they love the image of him being gruff and a bad boy, and
Cute's a good thing.
can't take
Cute's
him
a
home
good
to
thing
meet your parents.
Cute's good.
I don't like
thing
this
too.
conversation anymore.
You could be
Let's
both.
move on to the next game.
Maybe you can. I tell you what, we'll workshop your public image after the episode, Ed. Star Wars Galactic Racer. They showed some more of it. It's gonna have a story. It's gonna have pod racers in it, and it's got another pod racer. The original showing of it, I think it was the Game Awards, had Sebulba in it. Yeah, and this one's got another one whose name I don't remember. He's got some ridiculous name, but it's another one of the pod races from episode 1 of Star Wars. They're all in
Nice.
it. My hope, I
Nice.
want Mon Mothma in this game. I want her after they win the rebellion and she becomes a senator or whatever. She has a side gig of being a galactic racer. Make it canon, LucasArts, you cowards.
You heard him.
More James Bond game. They showed more of that off. You know it. Oh, here's a big one. Here's a big one. We're talking, as I mentioned, we're talking about Death Stranding. It's a big Kojima time for the Red Bowers podcast, and they have shown off and announced and shown off the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2. That's right, they previously did Volume 1, which include Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, including the original 2 Metal Gear games, I believe, were in there.
Correct.
Well,
Don't ask how I know that.
Oh, yeah. The secrets revealed for future episodes. Well, they've now really announced Volume 2, and the reason this is important is that not only is there going to be Peace Walker in there, but also, most importantly, Metal Gear Solid 4 for the first time, not on the PlayStation 3. They have never released this in any other form until now, and so people are excited. Metal Gear Solid 4, something of a questionable game. It's famous for its incredibly long cutscenes, even by Kojima standards. Notoriously, the final cutscene in this game, when you beat the game, is 1.5 hours long.
Jesus.
That's Kojima, baby. That's Kojima.
God.
He can't be stopped. Well, he was stopped. They
Can't
were never that
control
long
himself.
after that. They're not that long in Death Stranding. They do go on a bit.
They go on.
They do go on. But anyway, people are excited about this because it has been really genuinely quite logistically difficult to play Metal Gear Solid 4, which is at least in timeline basis, the end of the Metal Gear Solid games. There is also Revengeance after that, but that kind of doesn't really count. But yeah, it's coming out and people are excited about it. And it's also going to have Ghost Babel on it, which was the extra Game Boy game as a little extra. So that's nice. Hopefully, they will make a Volume 3 that will include all the weird games like Portable Ops and Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2 on the PSP, and of course also Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Revengeance. Everyone would love that.
Absolutely. And we'd love it even more if that ended up being 1 second Game MTPS Pocket Super Knob 5000 exclusive.
We'd love it.
Because it's well equipped to play PSP games.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to say? Not an exclusive.
No, I'd rather
like...
it was an exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive.
You're going to force us all to buy the game now, will you? Okay. I should say this Metal Gear Solid remaster thing was part of a special block they had for Konami. They made a big deal about this because Konami, who have been really shit for a long time, maybe Konami are back. They made Silent Hill 2 remake and people liked it. I played it. I really liked it. Last year they put out Silent Hill F, which a lot of people really loved. A lot of people got really, really high on that. They put out that Master Collection, the first one. This one's coming out, and they also announced Castlevania Belmont's Curse. Castlevania is back, and it looks like they're making a full kind of 2D Metroidvania-style Castlevania game. They're bringing it back, and it's going to be made by Motion Twin and Evil Empire, who are the people who made Dead Cells. So as far as I can tell, this is it's not a roguelike game like Dead Cells was, but it is like a proper, level-designed Metroidvania. And it looks really cool. Looks like it's got a visual style kind of like that Netflix show they made. So yeah, that's pretty good. And also, they showed off the next Silent Hill game, Townfall, which looks interesting. And I've got to say, I think it might be the scariest Silent Hill yet. And that's because it's set in spooky Britain.
Does it have fog though?
Yeah, a very foggy Britain. A very foggy Britain. And we've got
As long
fog
as it
here.
has fog.
It's on the coast somewhere, maybe Scotland, but it's certainly Britain. You do. It seems like you
World
play an
needs more
American.
fog.
You do play an American, which I'm less keen on. Yeah,
Scotch mist.
yeah, but it looks quite good as well. It's first person, kind of interesting. It's not in Silent Hill because Silent Hill is a town in America. It's in a place called Saint Amelia. I'm not sure what connection it has to the wider Silent Hill lore, but yeah, there you go. The main character's name is Simon, which I always like to see, although unfortunately he is American. Konami has also shown off a new JRPG called Rev. Dot Noir. Rev full stop noir is what it's called. Kind of looks open world-ish. It's looked a bit generic. But yeah, there we go. They did that. John Wick. They're making a John Wick game, and Keanu's going to be in it. And that's all anyone really cares about, right?
Uh-huh.
Surprised
Uh,
it's taken them this long to make a John Wick game. That seems
there was a John Wick
it'll print money.
game that was like a weird kind of turn-based thing. It was kind of like a weird kind of. It was basically an indie game that they gave the license to, so it was a bit slightly elevated over an indie game. This is looks like it's going to be a full-scale, what you'd imagine a John Wick game being.
Yeah.
Big Walk. We talked about that on our Friend Swap episode, which we had with Little Bear.
Walk.
Big Walk. That's coming out this year, and it's going to be
Keen.
on PlayStation Plus, free. If you have PlayStation Plus, you get it free, but it will also be on PC, of course.
Okay.
They showed off more Saros by Housemarque. Showed off all the bits that make it easier, hopefully, than Returnal, which is a game I thought was really cool, but way too difficult for me. And they showed off some more Tokon, Marvel Tokon, the fighting game they're making. Hopefully that does better than 2KXO. Or no, 2XKO, sorry. And they ended up with the God of War news. So firstly, Sony Santa Monica, who make the God of War games, is making a God of War trilogy remake. They showed basically nothing of this. Basically just the logo saying they're making the game. And then they had TC, I can't remember his name, TC something, who is the original voice actor. TC Carson, that's right. I think Ed's got a different website up than I do.
I've got my notes on the Sony State of Play.
Oh, well done, Ed.
Thank you very much.
Always love a note taker. Yeah, TC Carson, who is the original voice of Kratos. They changed to Christopher Guest in the newer ones, who is the guy who played Teal'c in the old Stargate TV show. He has a bit more gravitas, and I guess that made sense for the older, now they're more serious. But TC Carson, I guess, really went for the ridiculous anger rage of those original games. And he just basically talked for like 3 minutes and was one of the most charming people I've seen in my life. He just seems like an incredibly cool guy. I want to hang out with him. I want to be friends with him. I want to be so good friends. I want him to be best man at my wedding now. You know, just a really cool, lovely guy. But he didn't really have much to say about it other than they're making this game. And I guess the implication is he's going to be voicing Kratos again in it. Although I don't think he explicitly said that. But he's talking about it, so he must be, I guess. But they are making that.
There've been rumors about this game for ages, haven't there? The remake.
I guess. I mean, I think people have been
I
talking
mentioned
about.
it. I think in when I did God of War on episode 13 of this
yes,
show.
and you were talking about the possibility of this happening.
That I was considering waiting for the remake to come out because it was the 20th anniversary last year, and then it didn't happen for that. So then it was like, oh, are they not making one after all? I don't know. It seems strange that they've released it for. Well, it seems like they might release it for the 21st anniversary or the 22nd. Like seems an odd trick to have missed. I wonder if anything behind the scenes happened with that, or if that's just been the plan from the start.
Well, the vibe I get is since it's a remake of the full trilogy, and they call it a remake, it's not a remaster or anything. I think like this is going to be more from the ground up, like the Resident Evil remakes they've done and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably all right to play the original God of War. I think that's fine. But then the big thing at the end of the show was, as well as that God of War remake, they've also made 2D pixel-based Metroidvania based on God of War, where you play Kid Kratos in Sparta, and the bit, which seems like a bit thin to end the show on, but the big reveal was it's out now. It was out right then,
Whoa.
so you could play it right then. Word is, I think people aren't too hot on it. I think some people think it's pretty good, but I think it's been the reaction to it has been a bit lukewarm. And to be honest, I didn't think it looked that great from the bit they showed. I feel like
67 on Metacritic right now for context. Not exactly knocking it out of the park.
It's not setting the world on fire. I think I've got to say, being like, what about when Kratos was a boy before he became a god and did anything of great note? Seems a bit thin for a game premise. I mean, he is fighting, supernatural monsters and shit. I do wonder if they'll get into how fucked up Spartan society was, because basically all the things about them being incredible warriors and shit, I mean, maybe they were, but the entire society was run by slaves who also did most of the fighting. So, doubt that's going to be in there. But yeah, that was the end of it. That was it.
There you go.
Yeah. That was all of it. Ed, you watched. What did you think of the show in general?
Yeah, I thought maybe there were a lot of. I thought it was quite good. Like, I'm quite interested in a lot of the games that they talked about. I did think maybe there could have been more new announcements. Like,
Mm,
there was a lot of. We have heard of quite a lot of these games already, and I know that is kind of how these things often go. But the balance felt a little bit too much. Updates on things we've already heard. Here's a new trailer for Marathon, for example.
yeah,
That kind of thing, rather than big new stuff. But I'm not mad about it. It was all right.
yeah. I thought it was all right. The big hope that people were hyped up about on the internet was that we would see an announcement of like details of the new Final Fantasy VII remake, the third in the remake trilogy, which they haven't
Hmm.
officially named yet, though. Since the first one was called Remake and the second one was called Rebirth, everyone's assuming it's going to be re something. They can't do Reunion, which relates to the story of Final Fantasy VII because they used that already for a previous game. So maybe Returns. I don't know. Who knows? Something.
Revenge.
Revengeance. Bring it back. Revengeance.
Mm.
They love
But
their
they didn't.
re
They
and a
didn't.
title.
Yeah. They didn't show it off, so people were a bit disappointed about it. They probably will this year. It's kind of expected next year, and this year is like the 30th anniversary or the 25th anniversary. I'm not entirely sure. So, 30th anniversary. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see it soon because I love those games, and I still maintain my personal endorsement for even if it wasn't the collective decision, but on a purely personal level, I would consider it the most ideologically correct game of the year 2024.
Hmm.
That was not the collective decision, and I abide by it. I abide by it. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's the news, and that's the episode. Remember,
There you go.
these are individual episodes now. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to be back in next week. But until then, you can find us on the internet. That's right. You can find us on Twitter at Red Barrels Pod, on Blue Sky at Red Barrels Podcast, .bsky.social. And as always, we desperately beg that you share us online and tell your friends. I mean, have you considered like hacking into your all of your close friends and relatives' various accounts and signing them up to our podcast without their knowledge? You might want to consider it. We're not going to endorse that, but it's something that you could plausibly do. Just saying. Just saying.
Something someone could do.
It's
You don't
it's a
have to,
theoretical thing.
but,
You could also do
you
it in
know.
Minecraft. You could probably do that in Minecraft, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
For us
Nice.
personally,
Phew.
I'm
The Red
at-
Barrel's legal department will be happy with that one, Alex.
Yes. Speaking of the Red Barrel Legal Department, it's me, Alex, on Twitter at AlexDean, AlexDuin. Blue Sky, the same thing. .bsky.social. Sophie, how can people find you?
Find me. I stream on Twitch at the moment, 1 day a week, maybe more in the future. We will see. At twitch.tv/SoFreely.
And Ed, tell people where the people can just get more Ed.
Oh, well, I live in England. It's quite a small country. So, if you come here, you'll probably run into me eventually. But if you want to find me online, I'm at Still Not a Lemon on X and at Not a Lemon on Blue Sky. So I'll see you there. Be there or be square.
See you there.
Let's be honest, be there and be square. But, be there nonetheless. Be there nonetheless. And that's it. Until next week when we will be talking about the games. You've already heard a little hint of Death Stranding. What will the other three be? I'm going to leave that mystery. No, the two. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to lie to you. There's only two other games we're going to be talking about. I can leave that mystery up to you. Only one way to find out, and that's to come back next week. But until then, we will be saying goodbye.
Bye.
Hooray!